Hi, I'm State Representative Jeffrey Elmore, and I represent Wilkes and Alexander County in the State House. I have the population centers of Wilkes and all of Alexander County. And today I'm going to share with you a budget update. I do this annually to keep the constituencies understanding what exactly is going on in state government and what is in the budget document that affects our area and the state affects all of the state of North Carolina. As of right now, the budget was passed at the beginning of the fiscal year, and the budget was vetoed by the governor. We are at what we're calling a budget impasse at this point. The veto is still in effect, and it has been over 30 days at this point since the veto. We did receive a document at the end of the week, all members of the General Assembly, of a compromise proposal from Governor Cooper dealing with the budget. Items in there are very similar to the original governor's budget that happened in May. What happens at this point with a budget is we are required to balance the budget each year in the state of North Carolina constitutionally. So basically, if you make changes to a budget at this point, you have to take from something to put more money into something else to keep it all balanced. There are some ideas in that document that the governor has sent us that is still being looked at, but we will still be looking at talking about the budget and budget negotiations from the legislative branch to the executive branch. I do want to share with you what is in the budget document that is passed on how it affects you and all of the citizens of North Carolina. First, in the budget, it's a $24 billion budget, and that represents a 3.5 increase from the budget last year. The second year would be a $24.8 billion, which is a 3.3 increase. We also transfer an additional $710 million into what's called the Rainy Day Fund. The reason why we're making those transfers is there were several $million pulled from the fund due to hurricane damage in the eastern part of the state, and what this does is replenish the monies that were taken out for the hurricane relief efforts. Also, to continue our efforts in tax reform and to continue the business growth that we are seeing in North Carolina, we were ranked this week as #1 place for business. Again, we've been ranked that by different factors through Forbes. We reduced the franchise tax rate to 0.96 cents over the 2 years, and we also raised the standard deduction for all filers, all income tax filers, by 5% effective in 2021. These continued tax reforms, the franchise tax affects small businesses in a disproportionate way to larger corporations, and also by increasing the standard deduction, this continues to help our working poor with their income tax burden and lowers that to where they have more money in their pocket. The budget also includes compensation increases and bonuses for teachers, State Highway Patrol, magistrates, clerks, and other state employees. The total of all that put together is over $208 million in increases in the first year of the budget and $354 million in the second year of the budget. As part of that, it is a 2.5 across-the-board increase in each year of the biennium for most state employees in the state agencies. So that's a total of, over the 2-year period, of 5% increase. Those levels of increases for our state employees have not been seen in well over a decade. In the budget, you also see a 1% across-the-board increase for non-certified LEA employees. Those are school system employees. It also provides 2 one-time 0.5% retirement supplements. Those checks would go out in October of each year. This would be a one-time bonus of each year to help offset some of the cost of living for our retirees from state government. It also provides an additional $15 million to what is called the State's Great Broadband Initiative. The goal of this is to send grant money out to where we can meet the goal of having broadband internet across all parts of North Carolina, not just in certain sections. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about each section of the budget and the specific areas. First, we have education. The education part of the budget makes up almost 57% of the total spending in the state, so it is definitely the largest part of the budget. First, we put an additional $486 million above last year's budget. That's a 3.5% increase in education spending. There are increases to the teacher salaries ranging anywhere from $500 to $2,600 a year, including the natural step increases. Also in the budget, we provide our veteran teachers, those are folks with 25 years or more experience, a $500 bonus in each year of the 2-year biennium. Those checks would be going out in October also, for a total of $1,000 additional bonus money, just thanking the veteran teachers for all of their years of service. It also provides funding for recruitment bonuses for small school systems. We are having some issues with teacher recruitment in very rural, isolated areas of the state. This fund would be a matching fund to help the systems be able to create a signing bonus structure to try to recruit younger teachers into these very rural areas of North Carolina. It also provides $3 million recurring funding beginning in the first year of the biennium to deal with ADM growth. That's the number of students that we have. So that additional money would help with the additional students coming into the school system. It also increases funding in what's called the instructional support allotment. This came out of the School Safety House Committee dealing with needs to help improve the safety of our schools. And one of the things that came out of that committee is that we need more what are called health support personnel. These are folks like school psychologists, school counselors, school nurses, and school social workers. We increased this fund, the instructional support allotment, by $20 million in the first year and $23 million in the second year to help get more of these folks in our school systems to help with our students. It also provides $12 million in each year of the budget for an additional funding for textbooks and digital resources. We are building back this fund from levels that it was at. The fund with this additional money would total over $86 million a year that would be injected into the school system to buy textbooks and digital resources, those instructional items that our teachers and students need. Also in this budget, it increases funding to classroom supplies allotment. It increases it by $15 million each year, and it also includes a program that would allow direct buying from the teachers. So it would give each of the teachers in year one $150 for a 6-month period, and then in year two, $200, that they can be able to buy whatever supply that they need. They do not have to do it through central purchasing. They can use a website called Class Wallet, which is similar to an Amazon type site, to where they can buy specifically what they need for their classroom. And the way this is structured, it also leaves the funding levels the same for the school systems themselves, so they can do the purchasing as they normally do. So a $15 million injection into instructional supplies. The budget also provides supplemental funding for 5 additional cooperative innovative high schools. These are our early colleges that are across the state. It also provides money to add 2 additional ones that were being approved for the following year for $1.5 million reoccurring. It also provides $1 million in the first year to the North Carolina Council on Economic Education to provide professional development to teachers for a new economics and personal finance high school graduation requirement. The General Assembly has seen the need that many of our young people lack an understanding of how financial systems work, things from interest rates to how do loans work, how do you basically balance your checking account. And what we decided is that we created a graduation requirement where every student in North Carolina would be required to take a personal finance class. This money here is setting up the staff development for our teachers to be able to be trained on what that personal finance class would look like to meet the requirements of the graduation. We also provide additional funds for our 4 school safety grant programs. These are grant programs that school systems can apply for to help with their needs dealing with school safety, ranging anywhere from SROs to new cameras to new locks, whatever needs that they have in their LEAs to help create a safer environment on our school campuses. These grant programs include the school resource Officers Grant Program, Safety Equipment Program, Students in Crisis Program, and Safety Training. We are injecting $18.1 million in the first year and $6 million in the second year into these grant programs. Now for our university system. We've had some good news about the university system in the past 2 or 3 weeks. We have been ranked as the best quality education for the price with the system as a whole in the state of North Carolina, and we've worked very hard to create controls on tuition increases. Things from our fixed tuition program, where a student can start at the beginning at their freshman year. That tuition price is set and would be the same until they graduate in 4 years. And also we have worked with what is called the NC Promise program, where 3 of our institutions in the university system offer a $500 tuition for in-state residents each year. We provide additional funding in this budget to keep the NC Promise institutions whole and to keep this program going. That funding is reoccurring, and it is over $19 million. We also provide $1 million of funding in both years for scholarships for students graduating from the School of Math and Science. That is a high school program that we have for students that excel in basically STEM areas. This money would provide a scholarship for them to stay in our universities for the first year and hopefully keep them in the system the entire time, because we want these students to stay in North Carolina after they graduate because of the extensive need that we have in science and technical and mathematical areas for the workforce. Also in this budget, we're providing monies to start our western campus of the School of Science and Math. That will be in Morganton, in Burke County. The monies are there to continue that process to where that school can open up on time. So we will have 2 campuses of the School of Science and Math, one in Durham and one that would help service the students from the western part of the state in Morganton. Also in the university part, it deals with our opportunity scholarships and our programs that are for students with disabilities. These are school choice programs, and they run through the university budget. We did some changes to the program this year to where we took 2 of the programs and combined them into one. That is the Children with Disabilities Grant and the Personal Education Savings Account program. Administratively, it is easier if those programs are combined, and also it would benefit the students more if the programs are combined, and that happens in this budget. Now for our community college system. We've also had some good news about our community college system. The rankings came out of the top 10 community colleges in the nation. 6 of those colleges were community colleges here in North Carolina. And our community college is, I've always argued, is very effective reaching the people of the state. The tentacles of the octopus basically touches more people even than our university system. In this budget, we provide $12 million of funds each year to fully implement funding between workforce courses and curriculum courses. How this has been funded in the past, those courses were funded at different levels. So it made it hard for community colleges that may be in more rural parts of the state to offer certain programming. By doing this funding, it equalizes it out, so it creates an easier ability for our rural campuses to offer new programming. It also provides additional funding for a very effective program. This is called the Career Coaches Program. What this is, these are liaisons that go into our high schools that are from the community colleges to counsel kids on career choices and also what they would like to do in post-secondary education. These programs have been very effective, especially in rural North Carolina. This allows for an expansion of that program, which is $4.5 million in year 1 of the budget and $5.3 million in year 2. Wilkes Community College has really worked hard in development of this program. They have recently secured monies from the Kolnick Foundation, which take care of the matching funds that are required from the local level to match the state money to expand this program in District 94. Now, in the Department of Health and Human Services, we added an additional $218 million increase in this section of the budget. and that is a 4.1 increase in funding in this area. We expanded the Home and Community Care Block Grant. That provides $3.6 million in year one and $5.8 million in year two. This is for in-home and community-based services for older adults. This helps allow them to continue to reside at home, and this funding also allows an estimated 1,500 additional seniors to be able to access this in the first year of the biennium, and over 2,700 seniors to access these services in the second year of the biennium. It also provides $3.5 million in year one and $1 million in year two for loan repayment incentives to help recruit doctors, physician assistants, dentists, nurse practitioners, and certified nurse midwives to practice in rural areas of the state. We continue to find problems with medical services in the rural parts of the state. These funds will help create this matching loan repayment for the folks that are willing in these areas to go into rural areas to help our medical access in North Carolina. Also, this budget increases the NC pre-K rates for child care centers by $5.2 million over the 2 years. And the intent of these funds is to help increase the salaries of the teachers that are working in the child care centers with our youngest students participating in the pre-K program. It provides an additional $5.4 million in year one and $16.3 million in year two to add 1,000 innovation waiver slots, 500 in each year of the biennium. These slots allow individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to access home and community-based Medicaid support services. It also extends the date for spending encumbered funds for the VIA Health for the construction of the Facility-Based Crisis Center here in Wilkes. This is a project that was started in last year's budget, which provided $1.2 million to help develop a facility-based crisis center. These are folks with mental health needs in Wilkes. This language in the budget allows those monies to continue to flow, so there will be no problem for VIA meeting the target to have this facility open in fall of this year. This budget also increases the rates paid for foster care effective July 1, 2020. The additional money is $20.7 million. Now for the agriculture, natural, and economic resource part of the budget. This part of the budget is seeing a 6% increase from levels from last year. This is a total of $36.4 million of additional funding for this area of the budget. It provides $115,000 and then $5 million in both years of the biennium for operating reserves to open a new Ag Science Center in the eastern part of the state to help with agricultural research. It also provides $3.5 million each year for the state match for federal clean water and drinking water state revolving funds. The Clean Water Fund helps with many water projects that are all over the state, and this is additional $3.5 million into that fund. It also provides $8 million in additional funding for our Parks and Recreational Trust Fund. This is a fund that our municipalities use to write grants towards to help with park improvements, may it be playground equipment, swimming pools, disc golf course, whatever the need is of the community, these monies go into those. It provides Clean Water Management Trust Fund, an estimated increase of almost $7 million in the first year, and that makes the total of over $20 million. And then we add $6.5 million in the second year for a total of almost $20 million. Now for justice and public safety, the areas in this part of the budget deal with our court system and our prison system. The increase is an additional $186 million. This is a 6.6% increase from the budget from last cycle. It provides additional funding for 26 new positions to support the implementation of what is called the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Act, or you probably know it more as Raise the Age. This totals $1.8 million in year one and $2.8 million in year two. It also expands what is called the Criminal Justice Fellows Program. This is money similar to the Teaching Fellows Program for teachers that is for folks that are interested in going into law enforcement. It provides for this program $332,000 in year one and over $650,000 in year two to be able to try to get some more law enforcement folks in our departments and in our prison system. Dealing with prison safety, part of the reforms with our increases in salary, we did some specific language in the budget to help with recruiting, especially for prisons that are in rural areas of the state that have high turnover rates. We're giving the power to the department to be able to adjust those salaries to try to get the level of workers that we need in our prisons to help with our prison safety concerns. We also are providing money for the prisons through prison security equipment. This is to help improve the security of the facilities and also reduce the amount of contraband that can come into our prisons. We increased that by $2 million in the budget. We're also providing monies for our National Guard to purchase high-frequency radios, live tracking devices, and personal protective equipment. The total of money that we injected into that program is over $2 million. Now for DOT, our Department of Transportation that deals with our roads and bridges across the state. North Carolina is in a unique position. The state funds our roads almost extensively. We have only the second highest. Texas has more roads that are maintained by the state than North Carolina, so we maintain almost all of our roads. So because of that, we did an overall increase of 3.7%. That's $138 million in additional funding to the Department of Transportation. We put in that, as part of that funding, $75 million in each year for commercial airport grants. This deals with grant monies helping airports across the state. Approximately $23 million is appropriated over each year of the biennium for North Carolina's rail infrastructure. These are our railroads. These monies will help do some overhauling of locomotives for the Piedmont and Carolinian train, also some local train station repairs, and commuter rail improvements. Our Strategic Transportation Initiative provides an additional $130 million over the biennium for highway and transportation construction projects out of the Highway Trust Fund. We have tried to accelerate funding out of this to get road projects started quicker. There are several road projects going on right now through in District 94 that have basically been sped up by several years because of this injection of money. Now, there are some parts of the budget that affect us directly in District 94 that I would like to cover with you. In the budget for the town of North Wilkesboro, there's $500,000. This provides a direct grant to the town for a water project dealing with the industrial park. The need for this, it is tied to the need from a company and also for the National Guard Armory that was funded through the bond that was voted on several years ago. This water infrastructure needs to be put in place for that development and also for a job expansion from one of the companies. The town of Wilkesboro in the budget would receive $50,000 for a direct grant for building restoration projects, and that deals with their downtown improvements. In this budget, we felt like it was very important to deal with school construction dollars. We have not seen help from the state in well over 15 years dealing with school construction, and there's lots of needs in our urban areas. There is growth needs. In our rural areas, there's repair and renovation needs. This budget sets up what is called the SCIF plan. This is basically a savings account for our local systems where there's money set aside in that account so when the project starts, they can draw down the monies. For Wilkes County Schools, the amount of money that they have in that fund totals over $14 million. For Alexander County Schools, the other part of the 94th District, it totals almost $12.5 million that they would have in their fund to be able to draw down for repairs and renovations or new school construction for our public schools in District 94. Also in that same format, There's money for our community college system, the same concept that they can draw down the money as needed for improvements. And for Wilkes Community College, there is over $5.5 million put for facility improvements for the campuses. Another thing that affects us directly, through a program called Ellis Grants. These are Extended Learning and Integrated Student Support Grant Program. Communities of Schools of Northwest North Carolina has a program in Alexander County Schools right now where they have site coordinators at each of the elementary schools. These site coordinators help coordinate with at-risk students at the elementaries to help them keep on track, to help them with their attendance, to help them with their homework, etc., to make sure that they are having the most successful experience they can in the schools. The budget language that is in this budget allows that to continue. If the budget is not passed, those grant programs are in jeopardy and can affect those site coordinators at each one of the elementary schools in Alexander. Also, there's money in here providing through Department of Environmental Quality, some water projects that affect the northeastern part of Wilkes and Surrey County. These deal with stream improvements to the Big Elkin Creek, and the improvements total $1.5 million for the part that would be in northeastern Wilkes. Now, not only have we worked on the budget in this long session, we've worked on several bills, and I want to go over several bills that I've gotten passed through the legislature that are now law. We needed to help Wilkes County government dealing with their fire tax districts. They were doing something innovative that has not been seen in other parts of the state, where they were aligning the fire districts and insurance districts to where they had the exact same lines, and they were doing that through the parcels. This law allowed them to be able to hold a public hearing all at one time to be able to accomplish their goal. Another bill that I was happy to see signed into law is House Bill 362. This is the 15-point scale for school performance grades. Since our school A through F school grade program started, it was based on a 15-point scale with the goal of moving it to a 10-point scale at some time. But we felt like that we needed consistency with the program. So since the program started at a 15-point scale, this law makes that 15-point scale permanent. Now, this does not deal with student grades or their term paper that comes home that the teacher grades. This is the actual grades for the school as a whole based on their test scores and their growth scores from their standardized tests. Also, we needed to, House Bill 411 is a bill that was signed into law. It's called Modify School Quality Success Indicator. The federal government requires us, with our reporting on our performance of our high schools, is basically we report how do we judge what a quality school is. This bill clarified that to where our reporting to the federal government would be very clear on what we feel like a quality high school with career and college readiness would look like. Also passed was House Bill 57. This dealt with some statutory changes to help clarify the statutes. When I started over 7 years ago, the education statutes, when you printed them all out and looked at them at one, were almost 4 inches thick, and they really did not read very clearly. So one of the steps that I took as soon as I took office was to try to streamline those and make them easier to read and put all of the parts. It's almost like taking a rough draft of a research paper, putting everything where it needs to be to where it's more like a final copy. This bill does that because it created a term for public schools to where public schools were clearly defined, and also it made sure that we codified our North Carolina Public Virtual School. This is a program that is through the Department of Public Instruction. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, as of right now, the budget is at an impasse. It has been vetoed by the governor, and we are in over day 30 of this. All of the stuff that I've just talked about cannot be enacted until the budget is passed. What happens in the meantime? The state of North Carolina is not like the federal government. You will not see some sort of shutdown where employees are asked to send home. How it functions is it will be functioning on last year's budget levels, the budget that was enacted in 1819. So the government will not shut down, but it will be acting on those funding levels. Now, what does that mean for the everyday state employee or for the program? Any non-recurring money, things such as grant monies, one-time increases to certain sections of the budget that were done with non-recurring money, meaning it's just one-time money going in, all of that would be stopped. Also for our employees, their pay would be based on last year's levels. So any sort of step increase that they would see, any sort of pay raise that is proposed would not be seen. They would be paid on last year's levels. Also for the departments themselves, they would have to operate on last year's funding levels. So even though there may be increase of prisoners in the prison system or increase of students in the schools, it would still be based on last year's level. So basically, it's called a continuing resolution, how it will be functioning, and how it started out July 1 of the fiscal year was under this. So basically, it will maintain on last year's levels. That can have effects, especially on grant program and many of these grants that I've talked about. But until the budget is passed, that is what it will continue under. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact my office. I don't have all the answers to everything, but we have the resources and ability to contact the people that we need to help you with any aspect of state government that you have concerns with or questions about, to try to get the answers that you need and get you to the right person to help with your needs. As always, I appreciate serving the people of Wilkes and Alexander County as your representative in the State House. And as I said, if you ever need anything, always feel free to contact Representative Jeffrey Elmore in Raleigh.